Call a meeting to order. My apologies for the delay. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, we will proceed to liaison comments.
It's Tom's birthday, so I have a feeling that's why he's not here. He didn't call me. But
Okay.
we had a quiet meeting in January. There really wasn't anything on the agenda. Certainly enough to force a fire. Our 3 budget meetings coming up, as you know. I haven't gotten scheduled yet, or I'd let you know. 22nd, 24th, and 29th. And just cautioning every department, we are fast approaching 40 mills in our mill rate. So be aware of that as you put your budget together. And other than that, that's all I have. I assume you're going to do dispatch, right? We're going to talk about dispatch. It's under you.
Sure.
Okay. We've had several meetings. I don't know, you, Karen. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right, next item is the review of the current financial statements, which will be closely followed by discussion on our operating budget submission.
Okay, the one line to just look at here is repair and maintenance machine. This is a line we watch every year, and we've been consistently going over.
This is the
For a
apparatus
number
repairs,
of
right?
years, yes. Just to put it in perspective, when we looked at the last 3 years, our average, what we spend on repair and maintenance machine is right around $100,000. So, and we have 68 there, so we try to do the best we can and then try to cover some of it with other lines that if we have money left at the end of the year, we try to cover some of that with that. So that's a line that we should just constantly monitor. And everything else right now, we're okay. We're gonna be close on a few lines, but hydrants, we know we're gonna be over on that lane. We just don't know by how much yet. And that's basically out of our control. The water company sets that. And if whatever hydrant repairs come out throughout the year, it comes out of that line. So if we have a heavy year with hydrant repairs, even if we have one hydrant that needs to be replaced, and the cost is roughly $6,000 a hydrant, we just don't believe usually that's where it goes over. Other than that, we're pretty good. Any questions?
Do you anticipate repair and maintenance eventually getting better with the trucks being replaced?
We do. The reason why repair and maintenance is still high right now is because, one, we have an aging fleet, plus we're also going to a lot more calls, and we're going to see that later in my report. We're going to talk about that, and once we do that, you'll understand why the repairs are higher in these last couple of years than they have been before. And hopefully, with newer apparatus that comes down, it's just the apparatus getting a lot more used now, and we're going to show you why.
You know, I know we had some hefty repair bill after the fire a year ago with the freezing cold, although the town got some of that money back on insurance, right?
Yep, they got, I think, $38,000, $39,000
It
back
could certainly help
on
on
the
the
offset.
pickle.
So,
Yep.
But that was extraordinary.
right. Well, and when we have problems with the other engines, we anticipate how we figure on lube oil filters, routine maintenance, this and that. When we need a major repair of $15,000 to $20,000 on the truck, it's just there's no way to budget for that because you just never know. So So it's tough to try to come up with that at least a year in advance. Like our budgets are due now, but we may not have a problem until say next January, and it's in our budget year, so there's no way to really know what we're gonna do or how. We know we have some issues with engine 9, especially with the generator, and if the generator goes out, we know we're probably in the area of about $30,000 to replace it, because we've already band-aided it, and at some point engine 9 is looking to be replaced in the spring, so we're looking to get on that so we have a spec and we can go ahead and order that truck in the spring. It's already 24 years old, so we need to get on some of these things, and the spec will get out hopefully in the springtime. That's our
Spring
goal.
of
Spring of
19.
this year.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions on the operating budget?
Okay, this is the next thing is the FY20 operating budget. There, we have two of those. Okay, so what you're looking at is FY19 on the top, FY19 adopted, that was what was approved last year. The FY19 projected, that's what we're looking to spend this year, and where we are. And FY20 proposed is what we're proposing for next year's budget. When we start going through the lines, we're going to leave off right now salary increases in this because it's a bargaining year with the union and this and that. And once that happens, that's what sets really the cost increases for the employees here. So, and across the board, so that line is zeroed out right now, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be a cost of living or whatever is negotiated at that point. Next slide to look at is overtime clerical. That line, where we were is we spent roughly the same in this budget season so far is roughly 1380. So we're anticipating next year being about 1380. And the next line is buyback sick days. Buyback sick days is actually, even though we didn't put it in our adopted budget last year, it was in another line item within the town budgeted for buyback sick days for the administrative assistant, and next year it has to be in our budget, and that's $28.64.
Do you understand that, Beth?
I do.
Can you explain
Well,
it?
the employees are allowed to carry over 120 hours, and if they're not
don't use them.
you can buy them back. They can buy
At the end of the year.
right.
You're going to pay the employee for it.
You're going to pay the employee up to
Okay.
120
It's in every
hours.
budget, so
Yep.
it makes sense.
It's
to not
across the
reimburse.
board.
So they're not carrying over any from year to year. If they don't use them by the end of the year, they get paid for them.
Sometimes they do, but I'm the only one that can say yes. I found that out.
And so that was used to be in a town, a
It's in
general
every-
town budget, and then it was
No, it's in every single
allocated?
budget. I'm surprised it wasn't in yours. It's in every single.
When we moved
budget.
to full-time, we didn't know we had to put
Oh,
buyback
okay.
sick in.
All right.
It was in, Tony had it in another line, in another part of the budget, not in our budget though.
Not in yours, okay.
But when you look at the overall thing, it actually, the FY19, it went into the projected, and it went in,
Okay.
if you looked at the
All
two
right.
numbers, it was in there,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
Sometimes, for example, if there's an extraordinary thing that occurs, they can carry them over 3 or 4 days they didn't get to use till the next year, but
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
can't keep accumulating.
Right, you can't
just,
buy back
you know,
like 5 years.
Yeah,
At the end.
it's just 1 year, and if you don't use them in that year,
Yeah,
good luck.
okay. All right.
The next line, medical expense is going to stay the same, data processing is going to stay the same. Volunteer incentives is, we increased this to 80. We've
is the
Once
retention
again,
program.
we moved it up to 80 a couple years ago. We backed it back down due to budget constraints, but with the amount of calls that the guys have been going on and what they've been doing and what they're asked to do now, I believe, and we're getting an influx of new members, I don't think increasing that program by 10,000 is a lot to do.
Do you want to just explain quickly what it is?
Yeah, so the volunteer incentives, it goes by the number of years you have it. It basically, it's a pot of money, and then what you look at is you take the total number of years you have in, and it's capped at 30 years. So you take that pot and you divvy it up by the number of years. The number of years, so let's say there's 1,300 years, and you divide that by 70,000, depending on how many, and then if you have 20 years in, whatever that number is, you times it by 20, but it's capped at 30. So a guy that's been here 35, 40, 45, 50 years, he's getting capped at 30 years, and the rest of the money's going down to the younger guys. They get the motivation and keep the recruitment and retention up.
Okay, so every year you have.
Every year that number changes.
Okay, but you have 70,000.
Like I'll increase a year, say Ely increases a year, you increase a year, so that number goes up, and then at some point it gets capped off.
And then what is done with that money?
It goes to like a retirement, like almost like a 401k, or to some other type of retirement, depending on what the individual has set up.
Okay, so it's basically an employer contribution to each firefighter's retirement account.
Correct.
In proportion to how many years they've served the department.
Correct.
And can you tell us about how much like a 30-year or 30-plus year?
I don't have it off the top of my head. I want to
Yeah.
say it's right around 4,000.
Yeah.
But remember, with that, they also get a 1099. So it's not, whatever they're getting, they're also getting taxed on that money. So it's not.
It's not tax
It's
deferred
not
or tax
right.
exempt.
So they're paid, the town issues a 1099 every year. So they have to pay tax on that as income.
Carmen, I think when this program started, it was government savings bonds that were issued.
It was. It used to be U.S. savings bonds,
Right.
and then when U.S. savings bonds went to the e-file system, it ended up being a nightmare for the older guys here, and it ended up being a nightmare for finance, because you would have to enter it in and create accounts, and then you have to put the money in, where before you would just fill the forms out and send them in. This time it ended up being a lot trickier and harder, and then the money didn't mature. It took a long time for the money to mature. This way it matures a lot better, and they can do a retirement account. They can put the money into their retirement account. But it is important to know they get a 1099 at the end of the year.
Okay.
And, they need to maintain certain numbers in order to maintain their eligibility.
Absolutely.
for the
So
program.
there's minimums with the program. So they have to hit 20% of fire calls, they have to hit 50% of meetings, 50% of truck routes, 50% of as designated training. And
So-
one or two other things. So there are minimums they have to hit. If they don't hit the minimums, then they're not eligible for that year.
Okay.
And because this was more of a retention and retirement program, that's why the Board of Selectmen, or actually the Ordinance Committee, and then the Board of Selectmen voted this year to do the tax abatement as well, so that hopefully we can start this year, July 1.
Right, so
I
the
think,
tax
so
abatement.
that'll help
The
a
tax
little bit as well,
abatement.
to encourage younger guys to come in.
Well, the tax abatement helps with even the people that live in town. The people that live out of town, which I believe there's 13 of them now, they're not eligible for it, even though if they hit all their minimums, and for the tax abatement, they have to hit 25% of fire calls along with everything else. And even if they hit that, they're not eligible for the tax abatement. So
Right, because we couldn't
Because they-
make
Well,
another
but
town
also-
do it.
We
Yeah.
can't help that.
There's-
we can't do anything about it.
No,
Different requirements, and they serve slightly different purposes.
yeah.
The incentive program is really to
The tax abatement is more as an incentive to have the guys show up more, since we're having a lot more
It's
calls.
And that's
basically a
increased-
participation
Yes.
tool.
increase, and that's
to
increased
recruitment.
requirements
Exactly.
too.
Yeah, and
More requirements than the incentive program. The incentive program is more to encourage longevity
Yes,
in the department, so you don't lose that
Yep.
institutional knowledge.
absolutely.
how many members do you have right now? 80-ish?
No, we have in 40s, probably around
Oh,
45,
okay.
45 to 50.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Cleaning custodials going to remain the same. Repair maintenance machine, like I talked about, we're on the cost of the last 3 years, we're averaging around $100,000. So we increased that from 68,000 to 80,000. I think 80 is going to be more of a realistic number. I don't see our call volume staying where it is. Hopefully it's going to come back down, but as long as we don't have any major events like major fires where we're breaking a lot of equipment, we should be pretty good around that $80,000 number. Right now, that line is actually underfunded, and it's really no one's fault. It's just a hard line to estimate. But when we looked at the last 3 years, we're spending roughly $100,000. So. Let's see here. Repair maintenance building. That line had to go up only by a few $100s, only because there's going to be cost increases across the board. But Cone A, the elevator maintenance people, because of the state regs, the increase in the elevator, we have to get the elevator certified every year. So that's the reason why that number went up. I think it went up like $420, $450. Telephones, we're anticipating our telephones to be around 9,500, so we increased that line to be around where we usually would be at 9,500. Right now we had 7,000 budgeted, but we're looking in the area of about 95, and we usually have to try to rob Peter to pay Paul on some of it, but that's going to be a realistic number come next year. The communications radio, the next line, 54240, that's a brand new line, and that's $56,324.
There's actually more description. I don't know why it just says generators there.
Yeah.
So I got that line.
So if you go on to your form right here, and we're going to jump around for 1 second. If you go to the last page of part of the form that you have in front of you that we're reading off of, this is for the new radio system. Basically we put it into the budget to oversee it.
What last page? I'm sorry.
Keep going.
Oh, the real last page.
To the last page.
So the last page, basically, this is what it's going to cost for next year to maintain and run the radio system, the new radio system. The software at $7,408, hardware at $12,549.60. These two numbers are going to be talked about in the radio committee meeting, because those numbers are actually a lot higher, but we would only have to pay, basically, if we turn the system on in May, we'd be paying for May and June of 2020, not 2019. So we'd have to cover the 2 months. That's what that is. But the radio committee is going to talk about to see how we're going to move forward. So those two numbers may change, or they may be what they are. The rest of the system, the radio system, the PM of the generators is $2,370 a year. That's to maintain the generators at the sites, the radio sites.
PM,
Preventive
Preventive
maintenance.
maintenance.
preventive maintenance, thank you.
Okay, remote monitoring, so that shows if the generator is in fail or something's going on. That's at the sites. We need the T1 lines at 4 of the sites, which a T1 line right now we're paying roughly $270 a year. We're not paying it right now, it's coming out of the police department budget. That's $12,960 for the year. The Seymour Tower, that's the rental for the year. We pay $1,300 a month, going to start in actually this month, moving forward. Propane, it's an estimate at the two sites where we have generators that are on propane, which is 2835. And we have a diesel generator down on Litchfield Turnpike at the last radio site, and we're anticipating roughly $1,100. Now these are guesstimates. There's no way to really know what we're going to spend on these. For the total of the subtotal of $56,324. Now, when we look at the old radio system, and the PD should have deducted this from their budget. They have to deduct 2 T1 lines, the maintenance of the maintenance contract of the old Quantar system, and there was something else. One other thing. So we're taking the 33,000 is coming out of the PD budget.
Those are the
Right.
3 things.
And the UPS and consoles coming down also, I'm sorry. So the cost is 33, so the net gain to the town would be 23,324.02. Is there questions on this? The only thing that's up in the air that the radio committee has to discuss is really the software and the hardware line. Everything else is what it is. Those are fixed costs.
Okay, so this is moving, basically, this is an item that's moving from the police department budget to our budget?
33,000 of it is, roughly 33, it's like 32.
No, 33 was in the
right?
PD budget, I thought.
Yes, that's coming off, yep. So the cost increase to the town is 23,324.02 roughly.
But an increase to the fire department budget of 56,000.
56, yes. We talked about it, Tony didn't want to create another like budget department that this would fall under. So we could always discuss it later, we just needed to put it somewhere right now. And we could always discuss it and move it later if we had to. That's why it's all in one line rather than taking like the propane and the diesel, and putting that into say gas for the building and stuff like that. So instead of spreading it all the way through the budget, which we can do later, or we leave it as one line, and that's what that line's designed for. Or if we have to, we take it right out and he creates another department or whatever we decide to do. Any questions?
No, I'm still getting sticker shock over that Seymour Tower rental payment. But
Remember, at the Seymour rental, the tower, we're getting the building, we're getting, there's UPS for the building, there's electrics built into it. You have a backup generator there that we don't have to maintain or do anything. So when you look at it,
Okay.
at 1,300, it's really not, it sounds like a lot, but it's
not just tower space.
no, it's
Okay.
more than that.
All right. No, the generator alone.
Yeah. So, and there's costs that we don't have to, some costs we don't have to incur, like the generator, the upfront cost. We don't have to go out and buy a generator, we don't have a ton of electrical work, we don't have
Yeah, okay.
a lot of that. And then the reoccurring costs. Okay, next line to look at is professional development training. That line was we used to have 35 at the Board of Selectmen, cut it down to 25. We're looking for 30. We have an EMP class, a refresher class that's due for next year, which we have to do, we don't have a choice, and we need the money for that. Professional development subscriptions, plus on top of that, we also have new personnel, which is going to go to Fire One, and we have other training. Next year is going to be a heavy year for training, July. Programs and publicity, a couple of years ago, we were at 7,500. We were able to cut that down. We were able to keep it. We were at, I think, 3,500 last year. We upped it to 5. We're able to keep 5 for next year's budget. We think we can do it. That is all fire education. So that is the coloring books, the fire hats, the badges, the crayons, all the stuff that when Joe goes out and does fire prevention to the schools, the daycares and all that, that's all where that comes out of. Just going off the increases. Technical, we're at 38, we're asking for 42. Based on our call volume, we're going through a lot of day-to-day supplies, speedy dry, plug and dike, water, everyday supplies that comes off the trucks, booms, you name it, that's where it comes off of.
What was,
So,
what was the last thing you said?
booms,
Booms.
like
Oh,
hazmat booms,
okay.
yeah. So. Next line that we're looking at is going to be jumping down to hydrants are at 88,450. This line has been going up roughly a little over 8%, 8.5%. We don't know if there's going to be an increase come next year or not, but that is what we pay every single year for hydrants just to have in town. So we own the hydrants in town. We have to pay for the ability to have the water at the hydrant, so that's what that number is. Capital machinery is the last one. That's where we increased a little bit. So if you go to the next page, you're going to see the capital machinery outlay program. So the minitors, we have to, actually, if you go on my desk, the new minitors. Yeah. We have to replace the rest of the minitors. We are going to a digital system. We haven't bought any of the older minitors, and this year we started buying the newer ones that we're going to need, and this would satisfy that need moving forward. So we've always had minitor replacement. We usually, on the average, replace, I think, 6 a year. Last year and this year, we just have to replace them, and then come the following year, we'll probably be back to that program again, but that's the minitor. That's the
It's the
minitor we
new
have to go in. Yep. So if you want to pass it around.
When you say you have to, is that because the radio?
Yeah, the radio system, we have to, we're going digital, and we need a digital pager to read it. And the minitors we're replacing, they're older, so they're in need of replacement anyway. So we just split it over a couple-year period. The K12 rescue saw, it's a 2002, we need to replace that. We're having some issues with it, along with the roof saw that is also a 2002.
And
Both roughly $1,500 a piece.
what's the rescue saw used for?
Rescue saw is used for, we can cut a roof with it, a flat roof. We can cut a guardrail at a motor vehicle accident with it. It's got multiple uses. Could cut concrete, block,
Okay.
whatever we would need to.
Obviously, roof saw is
The roof saw is a
self-explanatory.
chainsaw, but a chainsaw basically in steroids. It's got a carbide tip chain on it. It's got a roof depth gauge bar on it where you don't want the guy to cut too deep into the rafters because you'll fall through the roof. We want to just cut through the shingles and through the plywood. So over the years, it's been gummed up and this and that, and we need to replace it. The Ram fan, it's a ventilation fan. It's from 1999. We need to replace that this year, and that's roughly $5,200. That fan is, it's called like a box fan. It's maybe about 20 inches by 20 inches, or 2 foot by 2 foot. It's electric. It's intrinsically safe. Meaning you can use it in a hazardous environment where you're worried about creating a spark or whatever else. The fan doesn't create a spark, and basically that's what you're paying for with that fan.
Yeah, that would explain that. It's an expensive fan.
Yep. But even not an intrinsically safe fan, you're looking in the area of about $2,500 to $3,000.
And that's
You
it,
can't
what,
go to
there's
Home
like-
Depot and buy a box fan, and
Well,
it's a heavy-duty smoke ejector.
That's like if there's a gas leak or something.
Well, if there's a gas leak, even on a structure fire, we still need to ventilate the house. We stick the fan at the front door and suck the smoke out, or positive pressurize the house and push the smoke out to clear the house out of all the smoke and the carbon monoxide. So the fan gets used quite a bit, especially at the carbon monoxide calls also. And the last thing is stream light box replacement. These are actually flashlights that are mounted on the trucks. They're light boxes. A bunch of them are from 2003 and older. We need roughly 20 of them. What happens is we're at the end of getting parts and fixing the old boxes and the chargers, because they tend to wear out. So when you click in, they fall off a little bit. They're not charging, but it's an older light. So we're looking to replace 20 of them to go to the LED light boxes. Brighter light, draws less power on the truck, and that's about it. So that's our capital
I have a
outlay.
question on the Minotaur replacement.
Sure.
If half of them are only gonna go digital this year, what's
What do
gonna
you mean?
happen you're buying 23 of them this year?
We have, I forgot how many, I think we have 23 of them
Oh, I missed
from
that
last year.
part, because I
Yep.
was thinking half the guys would be without.
Nope.
Okay,
Nope, we'll be all
that
set.
would be not good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I missed that part, sorry. So if you don't have a digital one, you can't hear anything, right?
Right, so when the system gets turned on, it's probably not gonna go digital right off that rate.
Yeah.
As we turn it on.
Right.
It's probably gonna be a month or two, and then we'll go digital. Once you go digital, unless you have
Can't go back.
you can't, but once you have the encoder, you're not gonna be able to listen to
I
anything
got
what's
it.
going
Okay.
on. So if you have a
I just didn't
scanner.
want half the guys out without
Yep, nope.
the radios. You wouldn't think of that, but I do. You already got it covered, I mean, that's my point. Thank you.
So that's our budget. So if you look, our adopted budget is going from 776, 153 to 827, 987
Without the radio.
without the radio. So if we include the radio in our budget, we're looking at roughly, we're going from 776, 153 to 884, 311. So that's roughly, we're going up almost 14% because of that radio.
Well, yeah,
But the overall budget, if you take that out, we're going up from the adopted line, we're going up 6.69%.
6 point what?
69%. That's on the adopted. On the projected, we're going to be going up 5.98%.
okay, so this has been submitted to the finance department.
As a draft.
As a draft. Our procedure is that when it would be appropriate for us to ratify it, as it's already been submitted, we can make changes to it.
Actually, before you do anything, we're going to pull this up. We're going to jump a little bit because I want to show you some call numbers and stuff like that. So if you look up at the screen over here, you can see where we ended the year at 758 calls for this year. Last year was our busiest year ever. We were at 521. The year before that, 485, and the year before that, 347. So you can see we were on an increase, but especially this year, our numbers really spiked because of the storms and just based on the number of calls and structure fires and everything else that have been up. So now if we go to the next slide, that's the number of calls. These are the number of hours. So in 2018, we did 6,968 hours, where last year was our busiest year and we were jamming. We did 4,400 hours. So our numbers have gone up. Just our number of calls have gone up 45.5% this year we're in, and our hours have increased 56.86%, or over 2,500 hours.
And you know, Sean, every time we look at the hours, we're reminded that that's hours on scene.
Incident hours. That's not the hours back here putting the equipment back in, or truck crews going over the trucks, or any of that. That is strictly incident hours or training. That is just strictly incident hours on a scene. So it's impressive. It's a lot.
So you basically doubled your call volume and your hours in 4 years.
We did. But just based on last year, we're up 45.5% on calls, and we're up almost 57% on hours. So when we look at the budget and we look to increase here, this is exactly why it's, I mean, if you asked me last year at 521, I mean, I kept saying we had a really busy year and this and that, and to go from that to this, I mean, this is just unprecedented. This is a lot. So
You're going to bring these to
yes,
the budget presentation?
yeah.
Okay.
So I think when we look at our budget and we look like we went up 6% or 6.5%, there's reasons behind why we have to go up to the need for this. And if we looked at the last couple years, I mean, last year we had our busiest year at 521. This year we're at 758. I mean, maybe next year we'll be around 500, we hope, or even less, but we just don't know. But the cost of everything else is going up, and we're trying to do the best we can with what we have, but realistically, that's why when we looked at the budget this year, and based on past history, that's how we came up with the number we came up with. Minus out the radio stuff and everything else, but this is where we think we need to be, and we believe the numbers basically justify it. So I think it's important for you guys to know that and understand that. So if you're questioned on it, I mean, technical, we went up $4,000, which when you look at these numbers, really doesn't sound like a lot, but it would help out when we start talking about numbers of this magnitude.
And, you know,
If I can add just something, you know, volunteer incentive, if that goes up, you know, there's a whole lot of hours that are involved with that. And
Yeah, so when we look at when we looked at increasing $10,000 for volunteer incentives, that's a good point. We're asking, so 20% of 347 calls is a lot different than 20% of 758 calls. And when you look at the hours, go back to the hours for a minute. When you look at, I mean, it was 69, 68, it was almost 7,000 hours this year compared to 4,400 hours last year. I mean,
you divide that by the number of
that's quite a
firefighters,
bit.
that's a lot of hours.
It's a lot of hours, it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of calls, it's a lot of time. And that doesn't include, once again, that's just incident hours. So I mean, after a structure fire, we may be here 3 hours packing up, repacking trucks and getting everything going, times however many guys are here. So you could be adding another 60 hours onto a call. 60 plus hours onto a call. So I think it's important that you guys understand that when people are going to maybe turn heads and say, wow, 6.5%, what are these guys nuts? Well, these are the numbers that basically are influxing a lot of the budget. And I think it's only fair to increase that volunteer incentive line along with the other lines that we're looking to increase just to cover what we need to do.
And 2018 was not a hurricane year.
You're right, 2018 was not.
I mean, we had some storms, but it's also not a hurricane year.
2011, 2012, I mean, we had spikes in call volumes where we were in the area of around 600 calls for the year. That's, I mean, I think we had 100 calls during Hurricane Irene. I think we had 100 something calls for Sandy. We were around 600. This year, I mean, 2018, and then we had the snowstorm, we had the blizzard a few years ago, we had other disasters where we had wind wind emergencies where we started losing a lot of power and trees. And then we had the 2 nor'easters this year. I mean, the weather patterns really affecting a lot of this, and overall, numbers are up, so. If we had a hurricane during this, we'd probably be adding at least another 100 calls to those numbers this year. And luckily, we haven't had really a winter yet where we had snow and ice on the ground, where motor vehicle accidents were up and, or trees are coming down.
It's not February yet.
Well, last year,
There's still time.
we thought it was brutally cold and we had the structure fire on Inwood Road, so.
Yeah.
So we
It was
lost a lot of
January
equipment.
6th, January.
5th, yep. So,
Okay. Unless there's more questions on the budget, then I'd entertain a motion to approve it as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any other discussion on it? We've had extensive pre-motion discussion, so.
Well, I just want to say one thing. I just want to say, to me, you have prepared a conservative budget that, for the most part, stays the same as it was last year, except where there's external costs that you don't control, or where it's related to increased call volume. And I think it's a conservative budget, and I think you should be commended for preparing it.
Well, I think it's a realistic budget.
I mean, we could, I mean, the problem is when we look at it, and I even talked to Tony a little bit about it. The problem is if I keep repair maintenance at 68 and we're constantly spending more than the 68, it's not really practical, where we're constantly hitting contingency at the end of the year, and
Well,
it's
it's
just
not
not the
really
way.
budgeting.
Right, yeah, so.
If you know what you're going to spend.
Right, so I
that's-
think 80 is more realistic. And hopefully, over the years, that number will hopefully come down as long as we keep replacing the apparatus and the call volume comes down. That number should come down, back down to maybe 60 or 65.
Well, and just from my,
But just based on this, even if we have a brand new fleet, we're probably gonna, if we had a year like this, our repair maintenance account would be up based on just the apparatus getting used a lot more and a lot more stuff breaking and everything else, so.
right, but ordinarily, the newer equipment doesn't require
It doesn't require
as
a lot
many
more service.
extensive repairs at the older.
Right, like Engine 7, we're not worried about the generator, it's under warranty, and we're probably not gonna have a problem with it for at least probably 8 to 10 years before we have
Or the
to-
massive rebuilds we've got to do on
we're
engine
not
3
gonna
to keep
have-
it rolling,
Right. We won't have that.
so. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay.
And just let us know when we're scheduled for
Yep.
the presentation.
I asked him as we went along, so I got it.
Okay. Okay, received report. Okay, so this year is actually a big year for us, and we're looking to do a couple different things this year, and I'll give you a little bit, but this year is our 90th anniversary as a volunteer department. We gathered back in 1929, and today is 2019. It's 90 years of volunteer service, so it should be something everybody should be proud of. You guys, us, the town. Not paying for a paid department or anything else, and what we've increased over the last few years, it should be really, it's a really big deal to us. It should be a big deal to you guys, and it should be a big deal to the town. We're looking to do at our installation dinner, which I hope everybody can come from the fire commission, because it's going to be a big deal for us. We're talking about bringing possibly back some of the older members that were here that have left for that dinner, recognize them. Also on top of that, It is Charlie Whiting's 70th year. He's got over 70 years. I think he's got 70 and a half years as a volunteer
As a
firefighter. So
That
when
is
we
alive.
when we look at that
I know.
and we look at the department's been around 90 years. I mean, Charlie is the history of the department, and we have a couple other people that have close to 50 years, 40 years. I mean, these guys are the guys you really want because they have the longevity, they have the history, they have the knowledge, and they can pass it down to the younger generation. So when we look at like a tax abatement, if somebody's getting it and they don't think they should because they're not as active as they used to, you're talking about individuals that were very active when the incentive program wasn't around, when the tax abatement wasn't around. So this is a really big, deal for us and for the town. So
Sean, is there a date by which you measure,
Yeah,
during
it's
the year by
May,
which you measure that by?
it is. It's they got together in March and it was formed in April 11th, 1929. We actually have the minutes from back then.
Amazing.
Yeah, when they did it, and during installation dinner, we're going to have a bunch of clippings. We're going to have a bunch of history, all the old photos.
Is
We've
there a
been
date
digging
for
out.
the installation dinner?
There is May 4th.
Okay.
We're actually going to try to put a video together of what it was like, about people talking, about different things. So
You have all those old photos.
Yep.
That we rescued
yeah, and plus we have a lot more.
from the firehouse.
We actually had a video of the first field day in Woodbridge that was put on by us. It was in front of Town Hall. There were like no trees. Town Hall was
Oh, yeah,
there.
I've seen
The
that.
center building was there, yeah. The first church was there, but it was a gravel road, dirt road, and they had
There
potato
was no
sack
green?
races. There was a green.
Oh, okay. No
Um,
tree.
Yeah, but you could look over, like, when you look down Public Works,
Yeah.
it's all like clear, it's wide open, you can look right through and you could actually see Woodbridge.
Oh my
It was like, it was just coming in to, what it was, so it's,
It'd be really fun to recreate that field day.
Yeah.
so.
Wow.
Tug of war?
Potatoes, yeah,
Yeah.
it's tug of war,
Fun.
potato tax, I like it.
So when we look at it, we were at
We need
the
a bucket brigade, right?
old South Schoolhouse. That was the first firehouse, and then the firehouse got built, and we have like an original picture. I want to say the firehouse over here on Newton Road was built for $12,000
Wow.
back in 1938.
That was a lot of money
It was
back then.
actually done by,
Copper roof.
like different labor. It was done by like prisoner labor and stuff like that.
Oh,
Inmates, so it was a big deal, and we're gonna have pictures and everything else, but I just thought it was pretty good that 90 years, it's huge.
We could
Let
put-
us know how we can help as a town, whatever you need.
Yeah, so we're
That's
looking to,
very, very cool.
we're gonna get a couple posters made up, like boards made up. We could put them at the dance, we wanna put them out
Mhm.
throughout the year to recognize it. We'll probably put a banner or something outside.
we're gonna do
I
the dinner
would
here.
love
The
to
dinner's gonna be in the bay. We talked about going out, but I believe when we have it at the firehouse, especially installation dinner for our 90th anniversary, it'd be more home than it's here than going out somewhere else. We could bring the old engine one over from 38.
You need media coverage on this.
I was gonna say, I'd like to see something really nice in the paper
Right.
with
Right.
honoring the 50-year members and 70-year members.
Yep.
and-
So,
Maybe invite some dignitaries and, you know, it's up to you.
yeah,
It's your
yeah,
dinner.
no,
I don't
no,
wanna-
Yep. No, it's a
wanna
big,
get, you
it's a
know,
big deal, so
State
we're open to
reps and
whatever ideas.
senators, and it's a real big deal.
Maybe we could get a commendation or something at the Board of Selectmen meeting or
Oh, that's
something before
easy.
that, yeah.
That we
I
can do,
just-
that's done.
Yeah, I figured, but.
Yeah, we write those up, that's very cool, but something from perhaps the state and maybe
Yep.
the United States Senate and the House of Representatives, because it's a really big deal. So I got, that's a set date, correct?
That is a set date, May
We can
4th.
send invitations now.
Yep.
And I can go over the list with you.
Okay.
I'll talk to Jerry Short tomorrow morning. What time?
I don't have the time yet. I think it's probably gonna start about 6:30.
Okay.
It's usually 6:30, 7:30. It may start a little earlier just because we want people to,
Let's say
especially if
6
the older
o'clock.
members are talking,
Yeah.
we want them to communicate and
Yeah.
have
Oh,
it.
that's
I mean,
wonderful.
it's installation dinner, so the officers are gonna be installed. We're not gonna be really, we're gonna run through that pretty quick. It's not gonna be a
Right.
huge, even though it's a big deal, it's not really gonna be that big of a deal this year
Mhm.
to install the officers. We'll probably just bang it out, get it over with, 1,
Right.
2, 3. But the night, we want the night to be about the 90th and about the older members and everything else. So
Good.
we have a couple
Black tie.
things in store
You could
about
throw
what we're
gala.
gonna do and how.
You didn't hear me.
What's that?
Black tie.
Let's do a black tie, let's do a
Well,
gala.
I don't fit my
It was-
tuxedo anymore.
No, it was funny because
I mean,
years
you
ago.
guys have your uniforms,
Yeah,
so,
years
you
ago, it
know,
was actually
no?
funny because years
It's
ago.
kinda cool.
We have actually,
It's a real gala.
we actually have books from when the fire department did balls at
Mhm.
Warsaw Park. And everybody came dressed up. It was
Mhm.
basically a black tie affair. And they had these big galas and this and that, and they used to pack the place to do
Just
it.
saying.
So it is,
Be nice.
we did talk about it, so we're starting to put it all together, try to find a caterer where we can do stations, like a pasta station, meat station. So we want to change it up, so even though it's going to be basically a dinner that you're going to sit down and eat at, but it's going to be a little bit different than we're normally used to. Okay.
Yep.
That's great.
You gonna let the cat out of the bag at the January meetings?
Yeah, we're
Sure.
definitely we're gonna start off with that it's our 90th anniversary and it's a huge year.
Invite them all now.
Yep.
Wonderful. Boards of Selectmen and Finance are both there, so it's good.
Okay, going on to the next thing. We have 4 members that just started EMT, a brand new EMT class. So we're gonna have 4 new EMTs hopefully by June or July. So that will bring us up back up to around 20 EMTs. And then the rest of the guys have to go get recertified, which is good for 3 years. We have 1 person that started firefighter 1 at the beginning of the month. So that's good. He'll be hopefully done with that, roughly the same timeline, June, July. So we'll have another full-blown firefighter. Engine 3 is all set. Basically, we're picking a date with E1. We have to go down to Florida in February to do the pre-conference on the truck. Basically go over everything soup to nuts with engineering and with E1 down there. That's common. And hopefully you'll see this truck around this time next year.
Keep going, excuse me.
The Snowflake Dance is February 23rd. So anything we can do to help out, if you know anybody, or we can get an ad from anybody, or a silent auction donation, it would be grateful, appreciated.
Do you have those forms?
We do, they're in the workroom.
Yeah, the forms and
I'll
our
get 'em.
flyers here. Forms are
Here,
across
we
the
can
hall.
pass these around so you can see them.
Thanks.
There you go. Fit testing was last Tuesday, and they're gonna come this Tuesday to finish up. I think there's 3 or 4 people that need to be completed, so that's gonna be done. So we're still within timeline of OSHA. Santa was a big success this year. Thank you to Beth, again.
Except for the teddy bear incident.
Yeah. So,
I just
Santa-
told Amy about it, you didn't tell her.
no. Santa was a big hit again this year, so that's good.
And Dwight.
Yep.
And Emo.
Emil, yep.
Yeah, all fun.
So, I had a meeting this afternoon with Joe and Tony to discuss possibly securing the country club, so we could, because there's an issue with the water going to the club. There's a leak, so if we had to shut the pump down to actually disconnect the power, water, drain the system, and get it prepped for basically like a vacant property. So, and the town could save money on heat, electricity, oil, and everything else over there. And there is no update on the radio system. There hasn't been a meeting, but like I said, at the next meeting, we'll definitely take up the cost of the new radio system. But I know the generator and the civil work has been going on at these sites, so hopefully we'll have a meeting in the next few weeks.
So you think it'll be up and going May-ish or something?
Yeah, May or June.
Yeah.
We need to, we're gonna,
I still hear.
yeah, we're gonna have to wait for the leaves on the
honking
trees.
noise in the background.
Yep, that's the hum.
That's all related to the old
Yep.
system, right? It's
Yep.
all gonna go away, we hope.
It
It'll
is.
be a wonderful, very clean, quiet system. That is so good.
Okay.
It's really dangerous when that happens.
Okay, dispatch. You wanna talk about it? Okay.
So this is in follow-up to the meeting that we had in December, where we had a number of members come with their families and tell us that they were not feeling safe going on calls because they are not reliably getting information from dispatch about where they're supposed to go and what is the nature of the call. There's delays and other issues. So we reached out to Beth. We met with Beth and talked about several action items, some of which we can't discuss in open session. There was a follow-up to that, and several of the action items that we've discussed came to fruition and are in progress. One of those is training on the card set, which hopefully started today. An agreement.
Use of the card set.
Use of the card set, I'm sorry.
You've already been trained,
I
right?
misspoke. Implementation of the card set today. And an agreement to move forward with the ordering and implementation of the Pro QA. And weekly progress calls and meetings with the chief of fire, the chief of police, the first selectman, and a member of this commission, and a member of the police commission. We had our first call on Friday. And the purpose of the call is to work on issues that arise during the week so that everybody that's involved knows what the underlying circumstances and issues are, and that there's follow-up within no more than a week on how those issues are being addressed, have been addressed going forward, and then another follow-up to make sure that they don't happen again. And also to keep, while we in the short term try to improve the safety of the system, in the long term, how do we address some of the structural and institutional problems that have plagued the system for many, many years. So those are the things we're working on in the call, and happy to answer any other questions about it.
Good summary.
We're very happy to see progress. Thank you
Me too.
for your efforts.
Yeah, I really thank you commissioners for keeping it, and Sean clearly for keeping it, and Nate and the board and everybody else who participated in this, because it's.
So we're cautiously optimistic.
Thank you.
Is that it for your report, Chief?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
90 years. 90 years.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the activity report. Assistant Chief Honor. Did you get one of these? Fire Marshal's report?
That's the
No.
fire marshal.
No, I did not. Thank you. Now I have two.
All right, so in December, we had 28 calls, 14 activated. 14 false alarms, good intentions, and
I don't have December.
We're looking at November.
I have November,
Why are you looking at November?
because that's what I was handed.
Oh.
Sorry.
I couldn't find the last page of the
I'm sorry,
budget, so I
let me go
really
make a
don't,
quick
I feel
copy.
like I should ask you.
I must have copied the wrong one.
That's why I didn't say it. Maybe I got one, it's just,
You got
anyways,
December,
in
Joe?
December we had 28 calls. Okay.
Versus 40 in November, I guess.
Yes.
That's right.
I don't have November's. I don't
No,
know.
November, here's
Did you like it? I didn't want to ask because I couldn't find the last page of the budget. And I said, I'm not going to ask, maybe I'll just pretend that I'm the
You got
only
your
one
one
that says
question.
November. Being an idiot twice at a meeting is not smart.
Apologies.
Oh, hey, no. Thank you. Not off the presses.
There's yours. I just want to be able to get up in the middle of the meeting,
Yeah.
stretch my legs.
Okay, go ahead.
Alrighty, now that we're off December. So yes, as I was saying, we had 28 calls. You can see our hours for the total for the year compared to last year and everything as well.
It's interesting that the call types are becoming more like rescue and emergency medical service. You know, at least this past month, I know I don't know what, yeah, November is the same kind of thing. It's interesting.
It's a busy year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know that, but still, when you start.
When you look at it, it's the amount of hours and everything.
Well, we started a brand new year. Depends on how you look at it, not budget-wise, but
So the staff hours for yearly for 2018 in the third column down is 6,968.13. But staff hours reported year-to-date in December is 6,791.97.
Yeah, there was a few more calls.
So it got added on after December, is that?
yeah, because if you look at, I don't know why it's showing that, but incident date is 7:30, it should be
Yeah.
7:58.
So it's really the 6,9.
It's the
You're almost
6,968.
close to 7,000
Right.
calls is my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
No, 7,000 hours.
Hours.
Staff hours, sorry,
Yes.
yeah. That's a boatload.
I think,
Within December, but-
yeah, the top line looks like it's November. Because if you have 7:30 plus 28,
It is.
it's
No,
7:58.
it is November.
It is November.
It didn't
Yep.
get updated.
It is
No, it's
November.
not.
Yeah,
It's a
6,791,
Yeah, but the
yeah.
incident,
The
the
staff
Incidents
hours
for
are,
staff hours
right,
that
right.
month.
the staff hours reported are
But
different.
it
Yep.
didn't update the,
It didn't update the thing.
Yep.
That's okay.
Cool.
So look at the Woodbridge Fire yearly statistic information.
Right, my
Yeah.
point is you're close to 7,000 staff hours.
Yes.
Yes, we're actually over 7,000
Make
if we
that
did that.
point, make that point at your budget meeting.
Okay.
And it explains a lot. Or some of it anyway.
And again, that's just incident hours.
Correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
That's not
exactly.
coming back, getting
Yep.
it back together.
And what do you estimate as your ratio of meeting and training hours to incident
Oh,
hours?
you're probably
Like
10,000
3 to 1?
hours at
Plus.
least.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 10 plus.
So you think it's like
the
one,
ratio. That's-
one meeting, training hour for every 2 hours at an
Let's put it this
incident?
way, let's put it this way. On a typical Tuesday night, the guys usually get here about 7 and they clear out about 10, sometimes later. So let's say on the average, every Tuesday night it's 3 hours.
Some officers get here like 6 o'clock, 6:30, get everything ready.
So it's.
Yeah, you've got the regular stuff, and then you've got the incident.
Well, then you
follow-up.
got truck crew, you got meetings, you got training, then you got hours after a call to put the equipment back in service, depending on what it is, so.
Instructor
Even at a
Friday.
motor vehicle accident, you gotta load the speedy trailer back onto the truck and other
You gotta
stuff.
restock and be ready to go.
Yeah, so,
So is it like an hour in, like, I know, like trial prep, it's an hour of prep for every hour in court. Is that what you guys are?
so it depends, on a routine call, it's probably, to put the trucks back in service, probably 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, remember, it's actually longer than that. It's probably at least a half hour because when we sign off the radio at a call and say car 2-1 clear and available,
Drive by.
that's on the scene. So you got travel time back, and then you got to load the equipment onto the truck. So that's a motor vehicle accident. We use speedy dry and whatever else. Usually takes about 10-15 minutes to do it. Usually takes about 10 minutes to get back here, have the guys gear down, get out of their bunker gear. So you're probably talking close to a half hour per call. At a structure fire, realistically, you're probably talking at least 3 hours to put the trucks back in service, and that's at a minimum.
Yeah.
Then some of the other calls could be, you could be here an hour, so depending on what it is, so it's quite a bit. So when we look at 10,000 is not, 3,000 hours after, it's not that much,
Hey,
so.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next we have the, thank you, Assistant Chief Connor. Next we have the Fire Marshal's report.
Okay, this is from November 19th to January 10th. I was out 83 times, 77 inspections, 3 public education. The 2 fire investigations I did, I finally, every time we bring the dog in, we get a report from the state police, but because it's not a fatality or it's not an intentionally set fire, they give them all to me at the end of the year, and that's what happened here. You know, they're wrapping up their calendar year. I consulted 15 times and 1 plan review, and there's somebody going into the old Antonio's, because I just signed a conditional liquor permit over in the zoning Thursday.
Give it another shot.
All right.
Thank you.
I figured that was important.
Yeah,
You
that's
should
right.
know that.
Thank you for doing that.
Inside scoop.
I heard a rumor about
I don't know. I don't know, but I signed off on the liquor permit so he can go to liquor commission and get the paperwork started.
Do we have a name?
Oh,
Can't remember. I'm
Yes,
trying
I
to
got
think.
it here.
Paolos or something?
Paola, Pablo,
Oh, here it is, it's right here.
yeah,
Paolo Ristorante.
there you go.
what page?
It's on page, the last page.
The last page.
Page, of course, which is my favorite place to go.
So that's
well.
good for the town of Woodbridge.
Yes, excellent.
Good luck to this. Where are the dogs on here? You
What
mentioned
dogs?
the,
Oh, the
No,
2
the
fire
incident
investigations?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was,
are they listed in here?
yes, on the second page. Perkins Road and Richfield Turnpike. The Richfield Turnpike
Oh,
was a
okay.
stolen auto. Perkins Road was that large house on the left there.
Yep.
And
Although Perkins Road wasn't December 5th.
no, that's when I got the
That's when
report.
you got the
That's
report.
when you got, okay. All right. Any questions for the fire marshal? Moving right along. Next item is my report. And I have nothing really to say other than to thank Commissioner Kravitz for her pitching in at times when I was when my availability was limited in the past couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Very helpful. Next item is executive. We have an executive session on the agenda. Although I'm intend to skip that for the evening. Therefore, no action on matters heard in executive session. Correspondence? Do you have any correspondence? No. The thing I will add is that in addition to the anniversary celebration we're talking about, is the snowflake dance is coming up at the end of February. We will meet again before that, Lord willing, but we should all be aware of that and attend if at all possible. It's February 23rd. It is always a good time.
And at the Jewish Center this year,
Yes.
correct?
Yep. At the GCC.
It has a competing event at Ezra that night. Did you know about that?
How was
Do
it?
we know? Yeah.
It was great.
I'm not going to Ezra.
Yeah, they were very nice businesses. It was good.
Okay, next item is approval of the minutes. And I think we should start with the October 22nd minutes. Does everybody have those?
I'm just going to do a proclamation for the school books.
Anybody need copies? October 22nd minutes.
Thank you.
We got it right.
I don't have any changes or corrections to the October 22nd minutes. Does anyone else?
Make a motion to approve it?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next item is the November 19th minutes.
Do you have a copy of the November minutes?
There's no copy here. I already
Need
looked
it,
at
but I already reviewed.
Okay. Anybody have any changes or corrections to the November 19th minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have not read the December 17th minutes yet, so we will defer those to the next meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 11th. Everybody good with that?
February 11th.
February 11th. That's not a, I don't think that's a holiday week.
No.
Okay. Is there any other business? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
With that, I second.
Okay. all in
Glad I
favor?
came in.
Aye.
You're here like 15 minutes.
You guys want to hear it from me or something?